right. Um, well, let's see. I've got this introduction here written for John, and there's his bio. I won't read the bio to you, but good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ASQ Phoenix Section June program. Tonight, we are fortunate enough to have our very own section member John Choate joining us to discuss supplier quality and supplier quality engineering 4.0. John brings more than 2 decades of experience leading quality, supply chain, manufacturing, and technology transformation initiatives across aerospace, defense, mechanical devices, telecommunications, semiconductors, and other highly regulated industries. Throughout his career, he's helped organizations leverage emerging technologies to improve quality, reduce risk, and drive business performance. As quality professionals, we're all seeing this increase in impact of AI, predictive analysis, digital workflows, and advanced supplier management tools. Tonight, John will share how these technologies are reshaping supplier quality and provide practical insights on how organizations of all sizes can begin their Quality 4.0 journey. Please join me in welcoming John Choate. John, again, thanks for volunteering to present to us tonight. And whenever you're ready, you can take over the screen, sir.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. You're saying, gee, he's done everything and been everywhere. Well, I started in the Air Force, and I was a combat officer and got my unique experience there, and then I moved in there. So you're going to see a combination of how my background I leveraged from the military and really advanced in the military applications I did. I was working with nuclear weapons in some cases, but very sophisticated aircraft as Orion was. And so the quality level had to be absolutely there. So let me see if I can share my
Do you need
screen.
me to present, John? I can do it on your
Yeah, why
behalf.
don't you do that for
Okay,
me? And that way,
just give me 1 second to get your presentation up. I thought I had it queued up, but I am wrong. I don't know if you can see the screen, your presentation.
oh, there it is.
There it
Okay,
is. All right, excellent. This is the latest version you sent me, John. So,
right. You got to go a few more. You're showing the monthly program.
what is that? Let me try a different share then.
There we
Is that
go.
okay? There we go.
Okay. So again, welcome everybody. So I've had the unique experience in my career of I came up really the supplier materials management side, but then I got into manufacturing, plant management, manufacturing operations. So really different perspectives on when you're working with the supplier versus when you're working in the plant. So when we talked about formulating this, I said, okay, let's do it on the supplier side and particular 4.0. So if you're not familiar in industrial modernization, we go by generations. 4.0 is in fact digital. So everybody now is 4.0. You're actually starting to see some 5.0 and 6.0. So, but we're going to focus on the digital 4.0. Can I advance it or do you want to advance it? Okay. So what I've done for this presentation, I've structured it in several parts. So sort of, I think the main thing here is the executive summary, and then sort of how do you assess your organization? And by the way, what I've done is I've broken it down to whether you're a small company, a medium company, or a large global corporation, because they will look at quality a little different, and then you're going to be able to see what the trends are and then we're going to look a little at the strategy, then the technology, and the execution. I think the most significant thing to do is from COVID, what we've learned is with strategy and execution are not aligned, you would fail. One of the challenges we're finding today is that with, say, AI, and AI is really a technology business enabler, we're seeing information faster, and we're also seeing whether we're aligned or not aligned. It goes back probably to the early ERP days when we started implementing it, we could really see process issues. And then what I'm doing at the last, um, I'm looking at several case studies that have gone here so that you get a perspective from our state, not it's out in the stratosphere somewhere. And I'm using what's called the PARS method. And this is one methodology to use. There's also STARS, there's a whole bunch out there, which really talks to the problem, the action, and the result. And really, in today's environment, you really got to talk about the value it's doing for your organization or the business or your people itself. Okay, next slide, please. Or can I advance? Okay. So if you look at it is because of the digital age and especially with AI, it's not surprising that you're seeing the market grow, especially in the software and all the applications. I personally can't even keep up with them. I have friends saying, hey, have you tried this one? Whatever. I just have a few programs I do. But then you look at their work environment, they have select tools, a lot of issues going on with AI. In fact, there's some interesting statistics I'll share later as we're going from Gen AI to agentic AI. And the big difference is just to look at agentic AI, you would not have human intervention. And so there's a lot of issues about that where you're not intervening at all. It's just going to say complete automatic test. Then something was not set up right. Then you have more rejections than you know what to do with. I had that happen to me in China. Not a fun experience. So if you look at the success formula, the most important aspect is the people. You want to look at the people, their skill levels. Then what you want to do is the technology that you're going to use. And one of the biggest issues, there are 9 actually like LLM models out there in AI. We basically see 4, but it's then are you using that right model or are you using the right software or hardware for your particular application against the process you're doing? And then you're going to get quality excellence. So, to give you a little personally on me, when I started and I took over a squadron in the Air Force, um, the quality was so far low you couldn't even see it. It was deeper than a well. 2 years later, we were one of the highest quality organizations in the Air Force. We were supporting Minuteman 1 and 3 implementation on Why Not, Why Not, plus B-52s and KC-135s. So we had to literally train our people and digitize. And I can tell you that was my first experience to what quality could do to an organization, and especially in the in-commission rate. Here's an interesting statistic. In today's workforce environment, it's a tough sell that you'd say we need to have 15 to 20% budget for work skill reskilling. If you're not aware, we have a tremendous work shortage in people in Arizona, and right now it's trying to fill the gap. So you're seeing significant programs to bring people on, onboarding, or in some cases of, say, semiconductor, they're actually bringing people over to fill the gap. So the one thing is, though, now you're going to have to use tools, digital tools, to help fill that gap because production isn't decreasing, it's increasing, especially in semiconductor. Give you an example, we've got TSMC here. Everybody knows about it. Last call is there could be 18 to 20 more semiconductor moving here. plus data centers, on and on and on. And when you see some of the numbers here, I think you're going to be shocked at the amount of industry that's really in the greater Phoenix area. And then the financial reality, once you do this, you're going to see an uptake. One of my first AI supplier quality programs, we built a cost of quality model. We dropped $18 million to the bottom line in 6 months, and our quality just skyrocketed because of the way that we did our statistically sampling on the line. And then the most important here, and this is where a lot of companies lose it, is you'll find out that a lot of the tactical people and technical people don't know how to show the business value, or from a tactical standpoint, they don't know how to align into the strategic suite. And that becomes very important on getting your program, getting your pilot, getting your program going, and then additional funding. Because they, at that level, work at results, so they're going to work results. Not saying we don't, but sometimes their measurements on the KPIs are far different than we're doing at the tactical level. And then here's the interesting one that I had here at the bottom of the C. They're saying that greater than 40% of the agentic AI cancellations are forecasted by 2027. And the main reason here, and I'm working a case right now with the patent office with our company I'm doing, is that with agentic AI, there isn't human intervention. So therefore, if you get into problems of hallucinations and fabrications, guess what? You can get wrong answers. And so now, say in the patent office, you have to document interjection of an agentic model to show that you're going in and providing direction to the tool, and that you're taking the data, a little different than we've been doing in the past. But now it's like, no, you can't let the model go wild. You've got to show that you're intervening here. And here's the key thing down here at the bottom. Uh, you've got to start leading now, because the way it's getting materials, and lead times are going out on materials and that as we're ramping up, that you could be as far as a 3-year out catch up. So what you do and the time list is very critical. Next slide, please. So here's a little checklist I put together. So think about how you rate your organization. So 6 questions, scale of 1 to 5. And then, so you've got the dimension on the left, and then you've got the best in class. And for most organizations, we've got numerical scores that you can plug in there and say, okay, I'm 85. If I go a scale to 100, that's pretty high up on there. So that takes the subjectivity out of it, makes it more objective. So that when you put your numbers in there and you add up, if you go to the blue box, it's going to tell. So you look at the dimension, supplier evaluation, incoming quality, 99.5. I've been in industries that was 100% or you rejected it. Your digital integration, then your corrective action. Um, some people are saying, are you kidding me? Less than 48 hours? Um, Believe me, I've been in environments where it wasn't 48 hours. I had to add up a new parking lot to handle all the stuff because it wasn't done in a timely manner. Your dashboards, so you're really measuring supplier performance. Then you're looking at your auditing and your compliance going on, particularly with your suppliers. Remember, we're focusing on the suppliers. And then you're going to total it. And then based on your total, now you're going to look at how you are. Oh, 29 to 30. And this follows a natural curve in technology. You're going to see the innovators first, then you're going to see the pioneers, then you're going to see the next level, then the sustainers, and then the laggards come on. That cycle in technology is just very, very common. It's been there actually several decades. Then you see industry leader, strong performer, good foundation, high opportunity, Less than that is, are you in quality or what are you doing? And so you're seeing down here, this is no joke. Um, when I went to China to set up a factory and I went over to benchmark our customer, I said, God, this is a cool building. Look at all that work going on. And they said, oh, this is our rework building. He said, this is your rework building. He said, oh, yeah, if we get 60%, we're lucky. And I said, you aren't you producing 10 to 20,000 boards an hour? And he said, yeah. I said, are you planning another building? And he said, yes. I said, I can't believe this. And then, of course, then if you have returns based on that, um, not a pleasant experience when RTV return to vendor. Then you've got to justify yourself. Then you got to deal with the supplier, and of course, then you're going to deal with their supplier quality group if you've got it from your quality group, and those can be very, very interesting encounters, as I'm saying. And this was interesting, and this really came to true at me. If you have no digital on your parts process, 40% longer launch time. I was doing an implementation in a medical company, Medtronic, and because of my background in materials, they assigned me to the engineering team. And the way that we looked at it and the parts process and that, by the time we got through, we actually did, in fact, cut our product launch time 40% because they had never looked at the parts properly, hadn't looked at lead times, different ways you can structure agreements. So this really, to me, makes sense. And so it's just a little way for you to gauge where you are with your company. Next. So you hear all of that and say, okay, I sort of know what quality engineering is, but what's this new 4.0? Where is it? So we're basically talking about digital now, and we're talking about enhanced tools to help us measure the process, do what we're doing. So supplier evaluation. Oh, how many manual audits have you done? They can be fun if they're across the state or the world. Spreadsheets, but now we're getting into predictive analytics. Um, I actually learned predictive analytics in the Air Force. The size of my squadron, I had a team of reports analysis people, and all I did is predictive analytics. And why I went to predictive analytics, um, if you've ever been in the military, I got tired of going to the wing beat meeting and getting beaten up. And it was like, I don't want to hear the history. What are you going to do? So when I'd come back to my group, I said, how can I get ahead of this? How can I predict what's going to happen? And that's how I actually stumbled in predictive analytics with my group. Inspection methods, the AQL, computer vision. In medical, we actually put computer vision in our laser processing when we were doing medical devices because we had to have that level of granularity in vision. And you're seeing more and more in the industry in that. I was offshore in Mexico and China, and we led in putting it in computer vision. And if you've ever been in a surface mount environment like I have been before, you can't survive without computer vision. If you think about, you might see 1,000 boards an hour going down a surface mount line. The only way you're going to do it is with computers and vision there. Then on data management, this becomes more and more important. And this is where a lot of companies fail. They're not looking at their data integrity. So if you don't look at your data integrity and your governance, guess what? Bad data, bad information, bad decisions. So that becomes very key. I was just at a project and I said, how's your data quality? And they said, well, we're only going to monitor 5% of it. And I said, what about the other 95%? Well, we're going to let it go. And I said, so have you had 100% on your data? Oh, no, we've never got past 45. And I said, you're going to do a major system implementation? You're nuts? And they said, well, we don't know if that's really important. I said, well, I think you need to revisit it. Now, more and more, um, you'll see supplier collaboration. I was at SAP and it's called SCC, supplier collaboration. And you're really looking at the total end to end. So historically, we looked at quality at the end, what was coming out the final supplier or company. Now, with new tools and new processes, we're looking at, you could be looking at literally mining ore for, say, making copper ingots because you have to have that complete supplier visibility now. And you're seeing that's sort of contrary to what was originally like when I started was, hey, I don't worry about all them. I'm at the end person. Now, because of the global presence and the interconnectivity, and especially like with blockchain, you're seeing more and more of a interconnected framework, not only on a local, but a national, but even a global standpoint. And so if you look at this framework, we're evaluating, we're going to excuse me, quantify, and that's where a lot of people fall down. Oh, we're getting good numbers. Management doesn't want that. They want numbers. Hey, we're moving from 80% to 90% or 95% or 99%. They want to have numbers and you need to quantify it. Then you're going to monitor it. You're going to do your pro. So this sounds like very normal in a factory, but hopefully you've got suppliers doing this too. And you'll be surprised on how many aren't, even when they claim they're number one. Then you want to improve and you collaborate and innovate. I had this come to home when I was just recently down in TJ, Mexico, working in an aerospace customer. I was sent there to interface with the supplier, their number one supplier. They had line down on 5 major lines, and I spent most of my time working with the supplier. Then, as I heard the supplier issues and got that, then I had to work with actually the OEMs and how stuff was delivered to them. So ultimately, they were aligned to meet all of their schedules. And if you look at the applications down here, what I've done is added, these are sort of the different standards that you're getting out there and you're being measured against. And those are even changing. You're seeing a lot of changes, especially in ISO standards now. If you're not aware, um, Europe has actually come up with the first standards in AI in the world, and we're behind that. But Europe has it, and we're seeing a lot of impact on ISO standards now because of the application of AI. Next slide. So I put this in, and I thought it was pretty interesting because I deal a lot with small businesses. So in the United States, a small business is less than 1,000 employees and $100 million, which can be pretty big. But then you get to some companies now, and they call them micro businesses, which are less than 100,000. They might be a one person shop. So how they look at quality on the left side versus what you're doing at the right side is a totally different world. So the most important thing is gauge where your company is. Are they a small, a medium, or a large company? And then what is the quality solution that you're going to be working with your suppliers? So you look at a smaller one. Hey, they can deliver. Do you really worry about quality? No. My wife has a business in 23 countries, and it's amazing the quality from country to country and what she'll allow as a small business versus if you're in a large business, or say if you were like in the military where you had absolutely Six Sigma quality, you're going to measure to the nth degree in the subparticle level. So here is giving you an idea on what tools and the level of sophistication for what you would be looking at a supplier. And to let you know where this came to really haunt with me was I was at Varian Medical. I was the division manager of all materials, and I had 150 machine shops. And I'd go out and I saw anything from sophisticated scheduling systems to no joke. 3 by 5 cards on a bulletin board, and that was their Kanban system. I hate to tell you, but that worked actually better than some of the systems I saw out there. So you have to look at what is the supplier is doing, but then you, as the ultimate, say the OEM, have to look at how that supplier is impacting you, no matter what level you are. And then are you using scorecards? Are you doing risk analysis? There's a new risk analysis that just came out under PMI now. It's called enterprise risk analysis. And so you're really at the strategic level versus the tactical. Then you get up to the large ones. Hey, end-to-end supplier visibility. I worked at SAP for over 3 years, and our whole focus was end-to-end supplier visibility. So you can imagine what it was like setting up the networks, getting the agreements, what the platforms were going to be like all over the world. That can be really a fun project. Next slide. So here are the 5 top trends that are going on. So is anybody surprised that AI isn't in there? But guess what we're looking at? Risk scoring. You're seeing more emphasis on risk and impact to the organization, I think, than we've ever seen before. So it behooves us as quality professionals to understand how you can use this tool, that you can evaluate a supplier and look at the risk it's going to have on not only your organization, but overall the company as a whole, because that's at the strategic level what they're looking at. Your workflows, that's very critical, especially on new product introduction. And what they're saying now, all the articles I'm reading, is that lead time for materials can be going out as much as 20 to 40% this year, just upon availability and issues. Computer vision, um, more and more, especially if you get into quantum and stuff like that, um, you've got to do it. I'm a vet. I just went in for a checkup. They brought out and said, "Oh, we did a AI analysis of your scans." I said, "What?" And they said, "Yeah, what it didn't catch, we had to use an AI tool to inspect, and we came up for areas no concern." So it's in multiple industries going on. Blockchain, the easiest thing for me to tell you on blockchain is you have more interconnectivity, you have closeness, and you want to pull information as fast as you can, especially on suppliers. If you've ever moved a project, when you get a certificate of compliance or a certificate of origin, that's critical. And now instead of pulling it out of massive files, you can digitally take a bill of material, construct it, and have that visibility. And now the last one, cloud QMS. Why that makes sense is if you look at the how amorphous some of your large organizations are, and you want to get priorities sometimes, they'll come in and say, "Well, you made a request. Maybe in your lifetime you'll get to see your request come to pass." And that's why there are a lot of secure platforms out there where people are using cloud applications in not only the supplier side, but in their factory side. And it allows you, even within minutes, to be up and running and have that capability within your system. So these within the supplier quality engineering are the top 5 trends and priorities that you see that are coming up this year. And then if you see in the bottom, you put them all together and you're going to see supplier quality excellence. I told you about China. We were chunking out 99.5%, and we had everybody in China, I think, through our factory trying to understand what we're doing. So we did a combination of visualization, and we did a combination of digital testing, and the results went for itself. We grew that plant from 3 surface mount plants to 21 lines in 1 year, and we ended up always having 99%. And we didn't have another building for reworking. Next slide, please. Supplier evaluation. So this has really changed. Some companies have SQE groups within materials. That's how I started and how I learned. And then I've seen some of them put them within the quality organization, and I've seen them also as separate entities. So it depends a lot on the organization and what they're doing, where you're getting away a lot from the what I call the fun audits. You could go to some fun places in the world and be looking at how their lines are set up, what they're doing in that. Where now you're really looking at more digitally and looking at data. And this is again why I'm saying data is important, how you look at it as a supplier as well as your organization, because you're gonna make a lot of decisions based upon what you think is data. So it's like with AI, I tell people and I give it instructions. I said, the quality of your data determines what your output's going to be and how you're going to make the quality of decisions. So that's very key here. And then you're going to look at what kind of process controls they have in place. Very typical we would do in any organization. But it's very key to supplier, and especially if you have certain industries, say you have medical, aerospace and defense, or data systems, that supplier quality is just of the highest level that you can think of. And if you've done medical manufacturing, there's actually three levels. The highest level is class three, where you're doing implants. You don't want to make a mistake because you do a life. If you've done NASA and you've done satellites, you don't want. We were watching a satellite launch, and I looked at my boss and I said, "What if it fails?" And he said, "I don't think I have the 100 million to replace the satellite. It better work." And he said, "Aren't you ahead of quality?" I said, "It'll work." And we did put the satellite successfully. So again, looking at success, metrics, KPIs, scorecards, but now you're going to digital. One company, I actually put in a digital scorecard. They'd been working on it a year and it was very simple. And guess what? We were looking at 16 product lines, 200 critical parts, and we identified all of the defects plus cost savings on that. And the division was ecstatic. They became more profitable than they ever had been before. So if you've never worked with suppliers and qualified suppliers, they're going to have, excuse me, different categories. So you're going to be like strategic, preferred, approved, provisional. And now, because of COVID, you're going to see tier one, tier two, and tier three, tertiary, because you need to be multiple source now with the environments are. That was what we learned out of COVID, is that if you go to single source or one source, you're on a high risk. So you need to be really monitoring them, but also looking at you have multiple sources from your suppliers to support your operation. Next slide. Here, this is sort of the process for the digital age. So you're planning and defining. I don't know if you've ever been involved in new product introduction. We had DFM, design for quality. Then we had DFT, design for test. And then actually we had DFQ, design for quality. And so if you look at it, it's very much on how much you're looking at your process up first, whether you're doing CAD CAM, multi-layers, how you're tracking your suppliers. It does make a significant impact. And like I said, you follow the process from plan to launch. This happened at Medtronic with me. We cut our lead time 40%. And when we ended the project, the president came to me and he said, "Do you want to be the head of engineering?" And I said, "Me? Are you kidding me?" He said, "Yeah, but guess what? You know how to do quality and materials management, and that's key to our launch." So think of the impact statement from the president was not because it was me, but by we looked at processes and how we use digital and how we use modern tools, how significantly we launched. To give you an idea of the impact, that division was growing 15% a quarter. I was there for 3 years. We never missed a surgery, and we were doing 72 72-hour commitment to on-time delivery at 100%. So if you want to deal with a stressful situation, but we really had to digitize and really look at our process with our suppliers because that was critical on what we were delivering to end surgery to patients. Next slide. Incoming quality. My favorite days of standing on the receiving dock, yelling at suppliers, truckers, and being called a mother what? I said, oh, I didn't know that. Gee, nice language. So those days are fast going, and we're going more into the digital and more into the digital inspection and actually predictions of what we're seeing from suppliers. Um, have been in several companies where we use digital, where based upon their continuous delivery, we didn't even do inspection. It went strictly to the stockroom or right to the line. So we had put digital into our processes. We had the equipment, and we also did the digital monitoring of their scorecards and what they were delivering. And then based upon them, we would actually give them direct to line delivery. And we never missed a beat. So look at your technology stack, what you're using, where you're using it selectively through your factory, from everywhere from the receiving dock to different areas to on the line, all the way to when it leaves. And in some cases, I had critical shipments that we even had cameras inside of them because we might have several $1 million in a particular truck that we were really concerned about the quality. So we had cameras inside them and we were actually watching it through the whole trip. It was either a truck or even by sea in satellite. We'd actually beam up the cargo truck or the cargo ships and be looking at the containers so nobody was getting into it. So we knew that the quality was being maintained from overseas to here. Earlier days, before we did a lot of this, I remember I was at one company when the quality engineer came back from Korea. I said, go to the next lot because watch the quality drop. And then a key important here, what metrics are you using? Set your metrics high, and you're going to get quality product to the door for your suppliers, and you're going to have a quality product, and you're going to have through output. Next slide. Supplier audits. So a lot of the audits that we did by going out to suppliers is going away. If you do it, it's either a critical supplier. I've done it a couple times. There were critical suppliers. There were critical issues that had to be addressed. But other than that, almost everything was digital. All of statistics, all of dashboards, all of that was being put in place. And of course, you see, we were complying to all the standards to make sure, whether it was ISO 9001, 9100, your aircraft 1345 is CGMP, automotive. Those are actually all germane to Arizona. All of that is going on right now in Arizona. So you're seeing high standards, you're seeing through output, you're seeing more of a drive to technology. And especially it's being driven by your OEMs down into their supplier base because people don't have all of the people they can get, especially in Arizona. So they're now looking at more at automated tools. And then your success factors, basically the best thing you're going to say, 100% on-time delivery, 100% quality. I mean, that's how I look at it. I don't want to deal with all this stuff. I want to have the tools in place to give that to me. Next slide. So now now I throw in AI, and I'm not only using my data, I'm using their data to actually see if I might not only look at issues in their process, but ways that I can do it or improve their process. So in a lot of your large OEM companies, especially in defense and in medical, they will have special programs where they will have engineers, quality engineers or factory engineers or specific discipline engineers actually go out and work with the suppliers and look at better tools to do. I've done it in my career. I've gone out and make recommendations and even had the company actually get funding to help the supplier if they're a critical supplier, say a small supplier. So that's the reality. It's nothing new, but now it's being forced more and more as we're driving down the supply chain down to all the way down in the support. At SAP, we were even doing IoT and putting sensors in a mining company in South America so that we could gauge the output and the quality of their ore for the end products of certain products that we were making in the United States. So it's reality. It's happening there on a world standpoint. And then you'll see here the little caveat again, uh, agentic AI, and again stressing this is where you have to have human intervention. So when all these tools you get, it's easy to let it run by itself, but a lot of people are looking at you need to have human intervention. So you'll find it cool. What I did in China, I was so intrigued with the stoplight. Gustavo, you like it, the stoplight at the border. I put it on the line with my automatic tester, and I had a stoplight of green, yellow, and red, and everybody would be watching it to watch the stoplight. And everybody says, he's got a stoplight on the sophisticated SMT line, and everybody loved it. But that's something I carried from Mexico, the stoplights at the border, over to China. And my impact was that our quality was so unbelievable that we were having people benchmark us. Next slide. Here, digital tools, platforms, a lot's out there these days. All I can say is look at what your requirements are, have them do a beta test, and have them do a proof of concept, or proof of delivery, or whatever you want to do as your test. Because there's a lot of tools out there, and you want to select the right tool, but you want to get the right tool for whatever your application is or whatever you're doing. And I've seen people actually get the wrong tools for the wrong areas and that, and then their quality went worse as a supplier versus bring them in, write your requirements, have them test it, make sure, and they're having the modern tools that they're due. Here's the big one too. You're seeing more and more actually on your device, on your mobile device, that companies are more and more, they might give you, I've actually had companies where they gave me a mobile device and I could only use it on a secure platform and a secure channel, but they would allow me to do that for inspections, whatever I had to do with it. So that is becoming more and more, especially if you're in a field environment, you don't want to lug tools around. Hey, I got my mobile device, I can take a picture, I can send it, I can digitize it, whatever. So it's sort of fair game. So look at what tools make the most sense. Next slide. Here, blockchain and supply chain traceability mainly is how the database is structured, getting the information faster, and the most thing is the traceability, that you can trace that item all the way from the start, all the way up to the value chain through your supplier to where you receive it, and ultimately out the door and even back again. Because if you haven't worked in an environment, especially defense, you might be in reverse logistics, and then they're going to really look at did you have total visibility over the supply chain? Next slide. Oh, next slide. Risk management. This has really become very significant in probably the last year, where there actually are risk management, ISO risk management processes and procedures out there. You'll see that more in big companies than we own small companies. But I think the most significant one with the recent publication of the PMI PMBOK, we saw risk management go from a tactical to an enterprise level. So what you're going to see it, we don't normally see it at a tactical level. You'll see it at an enterprise level where they're looking at what category of risk is it and what is it is impact to the business, the impact from a supplier standpoint, ultimately to the business, and even the strategy of it. I had that happen with Chevron in Texas, that what we were doing in the warehouse, we had to be briefing the execs because of the risk to their plan because we were using SAP. So if we didn't do the warehouse right, the field mechanics couldn't do their job. They wouldn't pump the oil, and ultimately that affected the number of barrels out the day, millions of barrels out the day. So look at risk, look how it fits into your environment as a quality engineer, and then um, if you haven't, start looking at a risk register and introducing it into your environment. And I think you're going to see a whole different viewpoint on how you're viewing your suppliers and the risk that they're bringing to your overall success and getting your product out the door. Next slide. Corrective action. Ah, my favorite. Or as I call root cause analysis, and sitting in and saying, how come it keeps coming back? Well, we did a risk analysis, and I said, why is it coming back? I thought root cause risk analysis said corrective action, it wouldn't come back. Well, I guess we didn't catch it. So now you're bringing every kind of tool that you can bring in, especially um, from a root cause analysis, and actually, in a lot of cases, putting it on your suppliers, critical suppliers, and I might add, when you looked at the classification like I did, look at them and saying, what corrective actions are you doing? And are you doing it in a timely manner? You see there, less than 48 hours. I get it, I inspect it, I find the answer, it's out the door. So you're getting into faster root cause, you're getting into faster turnaround, you're getting a higher success rate than you've ever done before. And I think this is the most important thing on the right side. You're looking at 100% digital trail. I was working at one company and they told me to go get the documents, and I went in and I had to fight the rats over the cardboard boxes, and they said, "Oh, we did that product 20 years ago." And I said, "Well, the rats ate it. So much for the paper." So that's what the advantage now with the new digital trail. Next slide. Measurements, KPIs. So this is really showing you, and we're not going to cover all the slides in detail. That's not my style. I want to have this here for a library. But these are like the top SQE metrics that you should be looking at, or KPIs, and what your target should be. And then what are your 4.0 enhancements that are now being used to really drive for that total excellence. I mean, it's nice to say you'd reach 100%, but I can tell you in all my times, I've only been at 100% about twice in my career. We won't talk about some of the earlier days. That was a learning process. Next slide. So here, case studies. So in Arizona, and I'm not going to talk to these, but you're going to be surprised at the number. Look at this: aerospace and defense, 1,200 companies; semiconductor, 165 billion and more, and climbing. So these are cases of where people are using supplier quality in their companies and with their suppliers to get the numbers they need. So in this, you're talking semiconductor, you're talking medical device, you're talking aerospace, you're also talking copper. That almost 80% of the copper in the world comes out of Arizona. And now they're using AI tools now to even mine it that looks like fracking from Texas. Next slide. So here, data centers, medical device. So here again, I use the PAR. You have a problem, I have an action, and I have a result. So the problem is what you're looking at, the action is you're using digital tools, you're using 4.0 technology, and then the results that you're getting for the business. And then what I did with all of these, you'll see I have reference slides, I have where you can look it up and that. But I wanted to show you these are examples that are happening right now in Arizona. Next slide. So action plan, depending on where you are with your suppliers and where you are as a company, you really got to evaluate. Go back to the evaluation, evaluate your where you are with your suppliers and say, do I need a program? And you might only have to look at one or two suppliers. Look at your critical suppliers. Look at your long lead suppliers first. And how well are you engaged with them? What kind of tools are they doing? And if you help them, they're going to help you. So that's sort of the 90-day program, establishing the baseline, the due diligence in that. Then as you select tools, then you're going to build it out more and more and more. And that's your sort of 100-day, 180-day horizon. Key of that is be able to know how to sell management that what you're doing is going to impact the business. And that's where a lot of people fail. They don't know how to explain business value. You want to really look at the value it's going to add to the company, or ultimately it's going to add to the customer. And this is a big thing now that's becoming now in the digital age. You've got to be looking at value ultimately all up the value chain and ultimately to the customer. Next slide. Takeaways, it's happening. Um, we've actually been in a major transformation the last couple of years. Um, the impact to the enterprise is significant if you look at the numbers, and these are from validated sources, the Deloittes, the Gardners, the McKinseys. They're seeing these results, so it's not going away. We're just entering generation 5, generation 6, and generation 7 is already being used. NVIDIA is using generation 6. IBM is using 7, generation 7 in their products with quantum computing. Now, one thing on takeaway, I want to add this, and I didn't add this as a slide. For quality people, we have a new AI quality bot out there called Quincy. We just wrote it in an article and published it. Look at it. It's a new tool that we put out by ASQ, and it can help you get into the book of knowledge and really on your cell phone be able to have the quality book of knowledge at your hand by using this Quincy device. So that's one of the key takeaways there is as you're doing it, ASQ is also advancing with qualities and us as an overall profession. And look at that device and look at that app called Quincy, Quincy. Next slide. Any questions? So how far do you think your company is with dealing with your suppliers? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4? I've actually dealt with some tier 1 OEMs that they were probably tier 3 with their suppliers. And that was just due to the complexity. So evaluate where you're at, evaluate where your suppliers are, because your supply chain and your supplier quality engineering are very critical to how you're going to perform and your overall thing. I got to, with an OEM, got to meet with the 4 customers because we were doing so rocking with the supplier. They said, you got to meet with the customers. And I said, I hope they're buying dinner. I'm not at that level. So with that, I've got in the remaining slides. If you want to just page forward, we'll show the other slides. What I have is a glossary. There's me. You can go past that, but you'll see some of the tools. I got references for you so that you can go in and look this up if you see there might be applicability to your organization. Next slide. Here's some websites and support and source links for you. You'll see I'm very much for verifiable data. I'm a quality guy. Hey, I got to be able to go to where the source data is. And then your next three slides, 26. Okay, here's your top groups, Deloitte, McKinsey, where some of the numbers are coming from that I used in the slide. So then you go 27, 28, and 29 are a glossary of terms because you know how bad we are in the quality group of using all the acronyms. And if you remember them all, you're a better person than me because I have to go look them up all myself. So that's the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. It's really look at quality, look at the quality of your suppliers because ultimately that's going to affect your end process. Thank you.
Hey, John, thanks. Hey, I did have maybe a simple question for you.
Yeah.
As many companies they struggle with their basic supplier corrective actions and scorecards, my company being one of them, right? How do organizations avoid chasing the AI or the digital transformation before mastering the basic skills of supplier
Well, no,
quality
I
for
think it's a
themselves?
good question. Part of that gets into your roadmap. And a lot of it is also benchmarking. You're in a very progressive state right now. Look at, say, how your competitors are doing, what they're doing, use metrics and C-levels look at data, but they really look at outcomes so that you want to be able to go in and say, if we do this and this investment, it's going to take us to this level. And they're going to look at what that investment is and then what it's going to come back to them. Like I told you, I saw 3x5 cards, and then I saw another company, they needed a mini computer system. So you really have to look at, I see lots of data in the Excel spreadsheets. By the way, I just had one where somebody asked me about AI. There's actually new AI tools out there that you can analyze Excel spreadsheets. So you got to look at very selectively what tools or what you're going to go after, and then how it's going to impact maybe your group in productivity, or ultimately your section, and then ultimately the business. And that's going to be the drawing point. I've seen more and more where the tactical people not only could not explain the business value, they couldn't even explain the strategic value. So that's very key. Start
Right.
small. I just say start small, fail fast, and then scale like hell.
It's a good advice. Well, does anybody else have questions for John
Ye-
before we move
Yeah,
into the
yeah, I had a question. Is there a list of recommended suppliers that you can provide for like PWB or flip chip or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a supply chain guy at heart, so we're gonna get you this presentation. I'm gonna get it in the right format, in the right thing. But if you have any specific questions, let me know, and then I can help you. So here's something that a lot of people don't know. So in Arizona, in Tempe, is called ISM. ISM is the world headquarters for procurement professionals. Look at if you have issues, reach out to ISM, Institute of Supply Chain Management, and they're in Tempe. All they deal is with professionals, so you're going to deal with sourcing, you're going to deal with direct and indirect. So direct, my background is more direct. That's actually making the materials and the product versus indirect, which might be office supplies and stuff like that. But that's one thing as a value add that's in this area is ISM. But if you have things, let me know in any way I can help you. In looking at some of the issues. I mean, that's what we do as a membership. We want to help our members, look at different solutions and that. I do it all the time.
Great, thank you.
any other questions for John before we get back into the program business?
And one thing too, just to let you know, when you think of ASU, you think of engineering. People don't realize, and that's part of the reason I moved to Arizona. ASU is one of the 10 top supply chain schools in the United States. I think they're like number 4. So look at local resources that can help you in the organization, and also leverage your organization, whether you're a small business, a large business, and look what kind of relationship is, and you might find out what are some of the latest stuff going on and tools in that. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions for John tonight? All right, we will move into the ASQ Phoenix section business. I know we have a lot of folks from across the country here, which is great. But so feel free to stick around and for the section business, and if not, you're free to sign out. All right. For the Phoenix leadership team, again, this is our leadership team. I am the section chair, Orion White, and a few of us are on the call as well. I'm pretty sure I saw Dave and Barb on there. And then again, John Choate is our publicity and outreach chair. So he does a lot of coordination and outreach within the industry here in the Valley. Regarding our leadership team volunteer opportunities, all of our positions are filled currently, but if you are here within the Valley and you want to contribute to the ASQ Phoenix section, feel free to reach out and we can work on getting you on a committee. You can reach out to myself. Here is my personal email address. And then our nominating chair, who does the placements and coordination, is Sam Chang. So here's his email as well. And then most of you, I'm sure, found this event through mysq.org. But if not, this is where you would go find it in the events section. We also have our previous recordings and programs that you can watch. All of them are posted every month by Barbara Bannock, and she has them uploaded. So if you go in and you watch those programs, you can receive the RUs for those. Just once you have watched the video recording, email our voice of customer chair, Jason Seibert, or you can reach out to me, and we will make sure that you receive those RU certificates for any videos you've watched in the past. It's based on the honor system. We've also recently started putting out our newsletter again, so you can find our newsletter within that most recent newsletter that we've sent out. Is that article that John was speaking about Quincy. So you can look in there and find it there as well. Upcoming engagements for our local members, and we have a in-person book exchange at a coffee shop. We're still nailing down the exact coffee shop and the date, but we are planning for the morning. This is a Saturday, the 12th or the 19th of September. So feel free to join us there. Be on the lookout for it. We will likely include that in some of our upcoming newsletters. We'll have an event posted, and I'm sure Barbara will make a blog entry about it as well. So, and then we will likely put it on some of our social media. Other events that we're planning, we're doing a Santan Brewery tour and meetup in November, locking in the date there as well and coordinating with the brewery. Also in November, the team is looking to do a volunteer opportunity at St. Mary's Food Bank. Again, we're still coordinating those details. This is just information for you so that you can be on the lookout in the near future. And then rolling into Q1 of next year, we are looking at doing an Amazon warehouse tour on the west side of the valley here. Touching on that Sundial e-newsletter again. So don't miss what's happening in the Phoenix section. Just make sure you're subscribed for emails from the Phoenix chapter. Monthly program notifications like this one and registration links will be included in there. I put out a chair message each month. about the happenings within the Phoenix chapter. So that is included. And then we also have one-page lesson plans that our education chair writes up. We should have another one coming out here in the near future. You'll see those linked in there. And then also we have ASQ.org tips and tricks that are going to be going in our newsletter. I know I saw Marilyn on the call, so she will be giving practical AI for quality engineers tips and tricks. So I've watched a brief presentation of hers, really enjoyable. Some of the quality tools that John was speaking about earlier today, I believe she'll touch on. So be on the lookout for that. It's not June 11th. I failed to update it. It will be in July. Today is June 11th. So Marilyn will be presenting next month. I apologize on that one. And also at the end of this, Jason Sabert, he is our program and voice of customer chair. He'll be sending your RU certificate and a thank you email. It'll also include a survey. So please take that survey and provide us any feedback, any future presentations you'd like to see, anything we did well, anything that you saw that can be improved on. We discuss all of that feedback within our monthly leadership team meeting. And then we take that and we try to improve our section through your guys' feedback. So please take the survey and you should see that again with your RU certificate email. So there's the date for Maryland here is 9 July for practical AI for quality engineers. In August, we have Second Secrets to Rocking the Audit Stage. And then you can see the rest. We are booked out for the rest of the year for speakers. In October, Shireen Yalda is the St. Louis co-chair. So we will be doing hosting a joint event with the St. Louis section. So that one should be a packed house, so it should be good there. That will be hosted by the Phoenix chapter, and Shireen will be doing the presentation. Again, here's the link for all of our social media. Feel free to connect with us on any of these and look for postings in LinkedIn for our program presentations and then all across our other social media for our upcoming events. And before we sign off, is there any additional questions, comments?
Yeah, so Ryan, this is John. So I think
Yeah,
you should let the people know about that. We just received a bronze award for the chapter.
yeah, most definitely. Good thought there, John. Yeah, so the Phoenix chapter did receive the Performance Excellence Program. I believe is the acronym, the PEP Award for 2025. So that's thanks to everyone that supports these program meetings. To Barbara, who always is posting on our ASQ. That is some of the things taken into consideration. And then, of course, all of our leadership team members who put in the effort there to support the Phoenix chapter. And then everyone that comes in from outside, again, I'm just looking at the chat here. We have Indiana, Dallas, California, Chicago. So we're all over the map. So it's everyone supporting ASQ. But so we definitely appreciate it and going for silver or gold this coming year. We need to discuss that in our next leadership team meeting. Any questions or comments or thoughts from anyone?
Well, I have a quick question for the whole team, if you guys will indulge me. I'm
Yeah.
Josh Day. I'm a principal quality engineer at Viasat here in Tempe, Arizona. I was researching PFMEA and noticed that there's a new standard that got released in January called SAE 1025. And so I purchased that spec and I'm starting to work on some training for it. And I'm wondering if anybody on the call has already implemented SAE 1025, and if so, if it was better than previous automotive versions, or if anybody has any experience with that, I'd like to hear about it.
Personally, do not, Josh, but open forum for anyone that may be able to help Josh out. Josh, if you want to, you can email me the specific question and I can put it out to our leadership team as well.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I can always support that way. We do have a pretty diverse group in our leadership team who may have some experience. And that way we make sure we get you an answer. Any other questions? All right. Well, again, thank you for attendance. John, thank you for the presentation. Excellent presentation. I hope everyone was able to get something from John's presentation. We will have that available. I think there was a question in the chat about
Yeah.
your presentation being available, John. Um,
Yeah, it will be.
yeah, so we'll have that available. Likely Barbara will likely post that within my ASQ. But if you don't see it there, feel free to reach out and we'll try to get it to you. Again, complete the email satisfaction survey and thank you all for your time. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.